The stakes have never been higher. President Donald Trump has declared he is prepared to unleash major sanctions on Russia, but only if all NATO member countries follow suit by halting their purchases of Russian oil. This bold stance, announced on a recent Saturday, signals a potential turning point in the international response to Russia's ongoing conflict in Ukraine. But here's where it gets controversial. Trump insists that these sanctions should come as a collective effort, emphasizing that unilateral action won't be effective unless NATO countries act in unison. In addition to targeting Russia, Trump has called on NATO nations to impose hefty tariffs, ranging from 50% to 100% on China. He argues that these tariffs should remain in place until the Russia-Ukraine war concludes, suggesting that China's economic influence over Russia is a critical factor in the conflict. China has a strong control and even grip over Russia, Trump wrote in a Truth Social post, which he described as the text of a letter sent to NATO countries and the global community. These powerful tariffs will break that grip. Trump's position on sanctions has been somewhat cautious until now. Although he has repeatedly threatened to penalize Russia for its invasion of Ukraine, he has refrained from implementing these measures so far. Earlier in the month, he mentioned readiness to enter a second phase of sanctions, but stopped short of enacting them. Analysts suggest that part of this hesitation stems from Trump's hope to mediate a peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia, a complex and delicate endeavor. Chris Weaver, CEO of Moscow-based Macro Advisory, offered insight into the strategic calculus behind this restraint. He explained that if Russia were decisively defeated, it might push Moscow to deepen its alliance with China, potentially strengthening China's global position. This possibility complicates the decision to impose harsh sanctions, as it could inadvertently shift the balance of power in an unintended direction. Trump's recent social media post highlights a shift in his approach, focusing on pressuring NATO allies to take stronger collective action against Russia. He criticized some NATO members for their continued purchase of Russian oil, calling it shocking and a serious weakness in their negotiating leverage. NATO's commitment to win has been far less than 100%, and the purchase of Russian oil, by some, has been shocking, he wrote. It greatly weakens your negotiating position and bargaining power over Russia. This criticism is particularly pointed at countries like Hungary and Slovakia, which have maintained their imports of Russian fossil fuels despite widespread calls to cut ties. US officials, including Secretary of Energy Chris Wright, have publicly urged these nations to stop relying on Russian gas, emphasizing the importance of a united front to end the war. We want to displace all Russian gas. President Trump, America, and all the nations of the EU. We want to end the Russian-Ukraine war, Wright stated. This situation raises important questions. Should NATO countries prioritize economic unity over their individual energy needs? Could imposing such steep tariffs on China backfire by escalating tensions or harming global trade? And is Trump's strategy of conditional sanctions the most effective way to pressure Russia? Or does it risk prolonging the conflict? These are complex issues with no easy answers. And they invite robust debate. What do you think? Are Trump's calls for coordinated sanctions and tariffs a smart move, or could they create more problems than they solve? Share your thoughts and join the conversation below.